So let's be honest here. ASA and ASE comparison is basically night and day. You look at the graphics, and you'll admit that ASA looks quite better. But also, it requires a quite more powerful computer to actually run it. After me analyzing the system requirements of both games, I came to a little bit interesting conclusion. Here are the system requirements for both games. And to my tech-savvy viewers, do you see anything weird about this? Let's make it a little bit simpler. Let's take away the weaker parts of the components, and let's not give you any options. So, do you see it now? That's right. According to Wildcard, ARK Survival Evolved can run on your modern-day library computer, which, as many of you know, is definitely not the case. So, why is this the case? I have a theory. Back in early 2015, when ARK first hit the Steam stores, it only came with one map and 30 dinosaurs. That is way off compared to our 473 creatures and 12 maps. Of course, with every new map comes new features, game modes, dinosaurs, activities, and so on, all at the cost of performance. So for the sake of this experiment, let's completely ignore ASE system requirements and replace them with something a little bit more realistic. This is something that I brewed up, and I would say that the performance difference between the two would be around 75%. But it still shadows into the comparison of system requirements for ASA. So let's take a deep dive to see what the differences actually are. So by looking at CPU performance, we are going for a quite significant jump from 4 cores to 6 and from 4 threads to 12. Those threads will absolutely be helping us out with multi-core processing. But the gigahertz, not as big of a leap as I was expecting, going from 3.9 to 4.8. Obviously, that's the speed that every core is running on, so that's still quite a significant difference. So RAM was a little bit more interesting. I had to do some experimenting myself by installing a completely blank system, having Steam run on it, and the game itself, just to see how much RAM a computer that is just running ARK itself would actually use. With ARK Survival Evolved standing 30 minutes at the red obelisk, I was using around 12.2 gigabytes, while with ARK Survival Ascended, I was running around 17.8. And for the graphics card, we'll keep it fairly simple. The RTX 3080 is approximately 136% more powerful than the age-old 1060. Now, this only leaves us with one final detail. ARK Survival Ascended requires an SSD. Now, why is that? I run my ARK Survival Ascended on an HDD, and it's working fine. I'm not getting any performance drops due to read or write speeds. So why does it require an SSD? Well, that's just so Wildcard can push out 300 megabyte updates and have your game completely rewritten under an hour! Now, but the real question is, can you, the average Joe, purchase and successfully run ARK Survival Ascended? Well, according to September 2023 Steam hardware surveys, this is basically the most popular computer layout. And I would say, yeah. The RAM would be a little bit of an issue, but I'd say yeah. I'd say definitely yeah. You should give it a try. But there are still more things you can do. Let me show you. So to increase your performance on ARK Survival Ascended, here's a few things you can do using command settings. By right-clicking on ARK Survival Ascended, going into Properties, and in General, on the bottom you'll see a tab right here. Now I will be showing you them shortly, but first let's go in game and see what they actually do. So here we are, on the lovely island nearby the red obelisk. Now, I am running a mixture of high and medium settings. I will show you them here. Running on a 1080p monitor, advanced graphics on high, anti-aliasing on epic, view distance on epic, and the unessentials running on medium. And my game is running on a somewhat smooth 40 FPS, which is not that great. Now, what can we do to fix this? Fairly simply. We're going to need to go into Settings, Advanced, and on the left here, Console Access. By us enabling that, we will have the console. But unlike Ark Survival Evolved, where you just press Tab to open it, you're going to have to press Escape and open it on the bottom left here. The console also remembers a plethora of your used commands as a history, which is a nice little touch. Anyways, we're going to start off with our first command, which is sg.FoliageQuality 0. We're going to paste that in, press enter, and it should decrease the foliage by some significant amount. As you already see on the top left, when I'm looking down here, my FPS has just increased to 60. When I'm looking back into the horizon, it's back to 40. So the foliage has definitely lightened up on my GPU with that. But we are not done. The clouds. If you're not running on Epic, you will see them stuttering and all types of fuzziness. There is a command for that. If we go and copy this one into the console command, r.VolumetricCloud 0. Paste that in, and voila, we have just gotten rid of those clouds, and by looking into the sky, we're even reaching 105 FPS, while the ground and trees are still looking quite nice indeed. And look, because of those clouds, you couldn't even see those northern lights in the sky. Absolutely beautiful. And the obelisk also looks a little bit more cleaner, so there you go. That's another one you can use. Water. Now we're looking at the water. Now we're not. I guess that's not really much of a difference, but there is another one we could use that could help us with the water situation. We paste it in, r.Water.SingleLayer.Reflection 0. We paste that in, and looks like we did see a little bit of a performance increase. About, I'd say, 8 frames. And, I mean, the water looks a little bit worse now, but if you're running on a little bit of a weaker GPU, this is also a solution. There is still more. R.Quality Shadows. Shadow quality. We set that to 0, and all shadows are gone. Something you can't really do through the actual settings in here. You can turn shadows to low or to medium, but you can't really actually turn them fully off. Unlike in Ark Survival Evolved. And now we are running way above 60 FPS consistently, reaching into hundreds and to 60 and so on and so forth. There's even more. r.ContactShadows, which I don't believe has done much since we already disabled the shadows. But I think this one is the big one right here. foliage.MaxTrianglesToRender. From the guy who I copied these commands off from Reddit, he had it at 300,000. So if we put that in, that's not really going to change anything too much. But we can adjust it to go a little bit lower, maybe 100,000. I'm not seeing any difference. Maybe let's go 10,000. Also not seeing any difference. Okay, well maybe not all of them are actually as useful as the others. So let's go maybe try 0. That also really didn't make a difference. Okay, I guess that command really is not that useful, but I guess each to their own. Every machine is different. Nothing is the same. So I recommend you guys try it out. By going in game and using them in consoles, you are not setting these settings permanently. The only way you're actually going to be setting these settings is by putting them on your boot sequence, basically in that little window that I showed you in properties and in general on Steam. Then those settings will be applied every time you turn on the game. But in console, every time you relog, you'll be brought back to the standard settings. So I hope this video has helped you out and maybe convinced you to try ASA out, give it a chance. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.